This is an overview of a mixed method study created by Jean Dehem and Peter Griswold that looked over teacher preparation for developing family partnerships. So they examined how teachers are prepared to work with families. The introduction starts with a review of previous research that has been conducted that's related to this topic. So some previous research includes that family involvement is a significant factor in student success, and that's student success in elementary and the secondary school years. The other research talks about how the programs in the teacher education do not include preparation for the teachers to work effectively with families. Instead, the teacher prep programs mainly just focus on skills needed in the classrooms. They also tie into Epstein with the 6 types of involvement, and those 6 types are parenting at home, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision making and advocacy, and collaborating with the community. Also, they mention research done regarding partnerships between school, family, and community. The issue is that currently there is limited information on how teacher candidates feel about their preparation and skills for collaborating with families of different economic and cultural backgrounds. Also, in the introduction, it mentions previous research that's related to educators working with parents from diverse backgrounds. And it showed that teachers have positive attitude towards working with parents, but they do not know how to reach out to parents and engage with the poor urban families. And also it talks about developing that partnership with parents from diverse socioeconomic groups. And it also mentions that educators tend to blame parents for the lack of interaction with school. I know that I am guilty of that as well. That has come across my head when the child is not performing and then I can't get up with the parents. So I think that the parents are like too busy for their children. So I am definitely guilty of that as well. I took this quote directly from the study because it gives you a good overview of what they're doing. To study the effectiveness of efforts to encourage teachers to form partnerships with families, this research examined teacher candidates and faculty attitudes in a public university located in northeastern part of the United States that is specifically committed to diversity issues in urban education. Consistent with the university mission statement that emphasizes diversity, all candidates are exposed to multiple school settings in which K-12 students are from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. And that comes from page 85. I also wanted to add to this that each candidate in the study was required to complete a full semester of a clinical placement in an urban or culturally diverse school. So here are the 3 research questions that they are trying to get answered in this study. First one being, what do teacher educators and teacher candidates believe about parent involvement in general and involvement of parents from diverse backgrounds? The second question that they're trying to answer is, does teacher education that includes a clinical placement in a diverse area change attitudes toward engaging families in partnerships with teachers? Third thing they're trying to answer, does the teacher education program address student teachers' concerns about working with parents and including parents from different cultural and linguistic backgrounds? So the authors use a mixed method approach to design their research, and that includes the qualitative research and quantitative research. So the data was collected in 2 different phases. First, there was a document review and the focus groups. Now, the whole point was the document review is that the researchers wanted to determine if the content of working with parents was included anywhere in the standards, curriculum, or the instruction that the teacher candidates received in this education program at the university. They used the focus group for more of a comparison. They wanted to compare teacher educators and student teachers' views and beliefs when it comes to parental involvement. The survey kind of did a very similar approach, but they were open-ended questions given to teacher candidates and first-year teachers. They also wanted to compare those two groups to see what their beliefs are on parental involvement. And this chart over here on the right-hand side shows you the race and ethnicity in the teacher program. You can see that overwhelmingly in the undergraduate students and in the graduate students, it's non-Hispanic white population. They both have over 60% that are in the education major. So the researchers needed to gather information from the two groups, and these relate directly to the two phases. So the first group were their focus groups, and then the second group were those that are going to take the survey. So just reminding you that this is students and faculty in a public four-year university, and they are located near several urban areas that have a multicultural population and have high poverty rates. And the teacher program was considered a traditional one. So group one, like I said, goes with the phase one of the previous slide. So this included 21 student teachers and 15 faculty members, and they taught courses in initial teacher certification. They all also have experience in teaching in the public schools. The second group was the survey group, and they are the phase two. And this consisted of 107 teacher candidates in their first year of the teacher preparation and 50 student teachers. The researchers collected data in three different ways. First, they reviewed the documents at the university that had any influence or defined the teacher education curriculum there. The second thing they did was focus group interviews of student teachers and teacher educators, and they were asked specifically these three questions. The first one being, what do you think of school-family partnerships? What comes to mind? What kinds of activities do you include in classes concerning school-family partnerships? And the last question they were asked was, do you think our teacher education program adequately deals with the questions and concerns teachers have about parents? The third way they collected data was a survey that was given to the first-year candidates that measured their attitudes and beliefs about parents' involvement. When completing their document review, the researchers found out that many course descriptions talked about family-school partnerships or talked about teaching children of diverse culture and backgrounds. Only 2 of the 33 courses talked about both, working on the partnership with parents from diverse groups. So family and school partnership was only 14 out of 33, and 25 out of 33 courses was involving teaching children of diverse cultural and backgrounds. So many of them were either or, but only 2 actually had both involved. And they also noticed that when they were looking at the assignments, that there were assignments that students were to work with parents, but it did not include or state working with parents from diverse backgrounds. So when they looked at the focus groups, they found 7 common themes that emerged through these focus groups. The first one was the importance of and the rationale for parent-teacher partnership. It was pretty unanimous between the two groups that were involved in these focus groups that parent-teacher relationship was a critical skill in teaching, and it was definitely needed for student success. The second common theme was the nature of parent-teacher partnership. So they looked at that it was important for the flow of oral written information from a teacher to a parent regarding the child's academic progress, their behavior in the curriculum, and the instruction activities, what's going on in the classroom. That's all important to tell parents, and we also have to make sure as teachers that we're not including just the bad or the negative types of things for their kids, but we also include the good. I am very guilty of that as a teacher, that I will try to tell parents, or your child needs to work on this, or they did this today, but then I forget to tell them the positive things that their child did. So I know I need to work on that. The third one is that effective communication strategies. So that goes into what I was just talking about, that it's important to contact while good things are happening in the classroom and not just the bad. And they also talked about in their focus group how it's important for teachers to make sure they diffuse any type of conflict with parents before it gets really bad. And now we're on to the fourth one. So they talked about the challenges for teachers working with parents. So for most of the discussion was actually on this part. So most of the focus group was on this particular concept of it's just challenging for teachers to work with parents, because teachers, or the student teachers that were involved with this and the faculty that were involved in this, they had these fears about parents, especially what if they became hostile? What do you do? They also were concerned on how they can interact with different cultures, because they know their side, but they don't know about the parent side. So they were concerned about, there's these concerns and worries and fears about working with parents that are not their same culture, or come from their same background. So the sixth one is, the fifth one, it was talking about the current preparation of students working with parents. So most of the courses of the teacher is about giving information to the parents, and there is little courses about prepping students for those parent-teacher partnerships. The next one was the concern about the preparation for working with parents. So it's very similar to the one above it, but they notated that there is just very few opportunities to address the stereotypes, beliefs of the student teachers regarding families from backgrounds other than their own. There's also was a conversation between the teacher candidates and the parents from diverse backgrounds were not taking place in the teacher preparation programs, so there's very limited opportunities for when the teacher candidate is like in their internship, they don't get the opportunity to deal with parents. And they recommend the recommendation for improvements in preparing the education majors for working with parents was to make sure there's more courses in developing parent-teacher partnerships, giving them student teachers and teacher candidates, giving them the time and the availability to work with parents. So lastly is the survey results. And when we look at this table, you see that the people that were in this survey feel like that they were capable of working with minority parents. They're all in the 80s out of a 100-point scale. So elementary student teachers, secondary student teachers, and then the average of all of them together, student teachers, there's 85, over 85 on the point scale. But then when you go down to the next one, you see it drop pretty tremendously. And this one is that they feel capable to teach minority parent strategies to help their children at home. So I guess there's this feeling of they can work with parents, but when it comes to giving them strategies to help their own, there's a little bit more hesitation in that. So overall, both the elementary and secondary education candidates rated their ability to work with parents from culturally diverse groups as stronger than the overall mean for the 14 items. The only two skills which earned higher ratings than the culturally diverse items were setting up parent-teacher conferences and sending home folders with work for parents to review. Out of this study, there's four main themes that emerge. First, that teacher educators and student teachers felt that parent involvement was important, but they held different views or limited views on how much they should be involved. So they believed in communication is a two-way street, and that the information that is being talked about should benefit the child's success. The next one is teacher educators and student teachers experience mixed feelings when working with parents. So they believe that family-school relationships are important, but there's a little fearful of any hazards that could come that way. So like that hostile parent that could start yelling at you, and knowing how to deal with that. That's some fears that they have. Number 3 is the need for preparation and working with families from different backgrounds. So we have to be careful with, as teachers, not to stereotype parents from diverse backgrounds, and we need to help students recognize any stereotypes that they may have or biases they may have towards diverse backgrounds. And there's actually no specific activity that they found in this research that the college that they were looking at is actually doing to help with that, but there definitely needs to be. Number 4, there's a gap between the curricular goals and the instruction. So most of the instruction is focused on just preparation, the teachers preparing to be classroom teachers. However, there needs to be strategies for promoting that partnership with parents, and that needs to be introduced in the coursework that they take and the seminars that come with their field experiences. Student teachers need that time to be able to react with parents before they graduate. And there's a couple limitations for this study. Since this was it was a mixed method study, but it was conducted at only one college, and it was collected at a college of education at one university, and so the sample size is quite small as well. So future studies need to be looked into the perspective of parents from all backgrounds. Student teachers need to know how to look at parents from all backgrounds and understanding their needs and their challenges. Teacher candidates need authentic experiences working with parents in urban areas, and they also need to examine their own attitudes about parents. Thank you.